Hello everybody, what's up? OCD Mikey Hi-Fi Guy here, and I am joining you to bring another video here about something that has, well, first of all, an announcement that I need to make, and then second of all, in some ideas that have crossed my mind. First of all, I have to make the announcement, I'm not selling the MoFi speakers, okay? And that's because they're made in China. I had some of you guys, the viewers, check me on that, and when I was talking and describing them and saying I was going to sell them, they said, "Hey, Mikey, where's it made?" And I was like, oh my God, felt so stupid because I got caught up in the marketing, okay? And this is part of what this video is going to be about. First of all, it's the announcement that I'm not carrying MoFi because I don't sell Chinese product. Things that even American companies that are made in China, I don't agree. Shame on you guys for making stuff in China. You don't need to make it there. People are suffering there. If you try and tell me that the people at your factory are happy, you're really blowing smoke up your own ass. Because the people at your factory are beheld to the factory. You feed them a couple meals a day. I got this from Perlisten. He said, we feed our guys, our people, our factory workers a couple times a day. And I said, well, that's because they live there, right? And he said, yeah, they live there. So you've got people that live on campus and you feed them and give them room and board because they'd be homeless otherwise. Or they're so poor that is like a good deal for them, is to be indentured servitude to a factory where they feed them and give them room and board. And their reasoning is, well, they'll die otherwise. But the bottom line is, why do people manufacture over there? It's to profit better than you can manufacturing here or manufacturing anywhere else, okay? If you're paying attention, you see there's protests going on all over because of the conditions there. The people are not happy. And especially if they're protesting in China, where you are taking your life into your own hands. If you protest in China, you can end up dead for sure. They will just kill you, or imprison you for life, or put you in a work camp, or you'll disappear, or whatever. And if these people, thousands and thousands of people, are taking the street and willing to do that in public, that means it's pretty bad. They're not happy over there, okay? And I stand for the protesters, okay? I'm on the people's side. So that precludes me from selling the MoFi speakers. And it's my own fault. I was caught up in the hoopla of the MoFi speaker because, look, you go to the show, everything's 20 grand, right? All these speakers, you have all these huge numbers. And then when you see something for $3,800, you're like, oh my God, it's $3,800. You see, the people that have the smaller speakers that are $3,500 or less, they're not going to really go to the show because they can't afford the expense of it. If you're selling $20,000 speakers and above, you can afford the expense of the show. If you're selling speakers that are less, unless you're doing huge volume, you can't really afford it. So we don't really get much representation of that. So at the show, when you go to the show, everything's 20 grand. That seems like the new price for speakers. And you find something for $3,800, you go, wow, that's amazing, right? But you don't sit and ask yourself, well, hold on. Let's compare the $3,800 not to what's here at the show, but let's think about just what's available. Look at the LRS Plus from Magnapan. I mean, for $1,000 or maybe a little bit less. And I'm sure it kills the MoFi speaker. And so you look at the value of the whole thing and you realize this is a marketing hype. Even me as the dealer I got under the ether of the whole marketing, because you come there and it's such a good hype and they're doing such a good job, and they've got Andrew Jones, who's a big name. Who even knows if Andrew Jones is that good of a speaker designer? He designed the ELACs, like $600 speakers and $1,000 speakers and stuff like that. So he's a hip name. It's like Bruno Puzzi. These guys, they get these hip names and then it helps them sell the product. And we don't even know. Have we compared them to other speaker designers and really put him to the task? No, we just accept that Andrew Jones is some, renowned speaker maker. Okay. So what we've got is I fell for the marketing, and just imagine if I fell for the marketing. Here's how I fell for it. I fell for it because it was 15 grand for the whole rig, including the speakers. I figured MoFi, American company, going to be made in America speakers. I didn't think about it. I didn't dig into it. I didn't question it. And that's our problem, is we don't question a lot of things. We just get spoon-fed and we don't question it. Thanks to my viewers, they checked me and said, where is it made? And I was like, uh-oh, wow, yeah. And then it's no surprise that, MoFi, as we know from recent history, has alleged that they mislead with their processes of manufacturing. So it's kind of funny that all of a sudden, I wasn't. I don't think they hide that they're made in China, but I certainly. It's my own fault, right? For not asking. Okay. I should have asked right there while the dude was in the room, where the hell are these things made, man? And then we could have had some fun. But I found out later, so I'm not going to carry them. And this brings into the whole picture, this whole idea of where things are manufactured, about manufactured hype around certain products, and what makes the most sense for us and where we should put our money. Okay. When I look at a box speaker and I question it, I didn't question it because, look, as a dealer, I'm sitting here going, man, there's such good energy here and hoopla here. I'm going to be able to sit back and just take orders for this speaker. I won't have to sell it all. Okay. That's a weak way out. Manufacturers understand that, and 90%, maybe 80% of dealers out there are weak. They're just order takers. So it's a perfect dealer product. You make it juicy for the dealer. You make it juicy for the end user by presenting it at a place where there's really high prices, and then 3,800 seems like nothing. And it's just, man, it's the perfect storm. It's really a brilliant study. This speaker is poised to go ballistic. It's probably going to go nuts, and people are going to all talk about how great it was. It was okay. What I was more impressed with was the whole rig that was 15 grand or below. Speaker was a little sharp, but whatever. It was a $15,000 or below system. What do you expect for that? Okay. What it makes me want to do for you guys is to dig a little deeper, do some investigative journalism, and I am going to look into, I have manufacturing connections. I'm going to, just as a test, put together something like that and see, made in America. I know where to get American-made drivers that are dual concentric coax. I know where to get cabinets made, and I can put this, I'm going to do this for you guys so I can bring back the information. What could I make them for and sell them for, made in USA, and would they kick ass on the ones that are made in China? Because it's just, I think people need to know. I think really the only way I'm going to get to we can speculate about what things are made for, or I can really get in and I can get a quote and I can put it together, put the whole package together, and then let you guys know. So I plan to do that. And that's where the MoFi thing has left me. I fell for the marketing, which is very good. I really want to like the company because it's a cool old company that's been around in the US for a long time. Just there has been some weird things in the history, and now there's a new thing coming out that's ready to pop. So I'm a little apprehensive. When I found out it was made in China, I can't carry it. Now, this carries me into another example of product that's made over there with no real discount. And this is something that I have seen recently that troubles me. It's products that are made in China that are commanding the same price as products that are made in the United States or Europe. Okay, and the prime example for this, my poster child, is Perlisten. Okay, I met that company at CAF. I pulled Eric out, who's the founder. I like the guy; he's a good guy. And they had no qualms about saying, "Yep, it's made in China. We make it in Shenzhen, and that's where it's made." And I said, "Well, how are you going to sell a Chinese-made thing for 20 grand? I mean, that's the same price as the American and the European brands." And he said, in no uncertain terms, well, it measures the same, and then sometimes it measures better, and we divulge all our measurements, and lots of companies don't do that. So I don't think any of us really give a shit too much about measurements. We want to know, how does it sound? And am I overpaying for something? Well, if this thing's selling for 20 grand and they have a factory there, which she said, I'm guessing they're made for 2,500 if they're sold for 20 grand. That's probably their cost. And that's just a guess. But I think it's probably pretty close. Why do they go there to do it? It's to have extra profit. So, in a traditional business plan, they would cost 5,000. I think in this plan, they're probably 2,500, and you're paying 20 grand for them if you buy them. I consider it home theater gear. I don't really consider it hi-fi gear. I can appreciate that they have history making speakers, that they're good at what they do. But I don't like the fact that an American company goes to China where there's human suffering, just to make extra profit, and make a hot product and bring everybody a bunch of money. I mean, I guess that's the American way, but when we start going to countries and exploiting people and people are suffering, then that's where I draw the line. So I'm not going to resell that. You can, there's certain things we can't help. But I can help. I can make a choice not to sell something. Okay, so I'm not going to sell that. Now, in the case, so that means I wouldn't carry Perlisten either. I don't even think Perlisten is a value, whereas MoFi, I thought it seemed like a better value. Perlisten, I didn't see the value there at all. I know where it's made, and it's 20 grand. To me, that's not a value. It used to be that the reason people went overseas was so that they could underbid the market. They could come to a market with a $20,000 speaker that they would sell for 10 grand. That makes some sense, okay? Now, we still have the human suffering going on there, but in no way is this okay. But I'm trying to, there's some redeeming a factor of it, which is, look, we're going there. We can't change their politics. They're going to do what they do regardless if we come or not. We're going to go there to buy so we can bring you guys, the end user, a $20,000 product for 10 grand. That makes some sort of sense. Like, I can do the math in that and I can figure that out. It makes sense. But when you go there and do all that and then you come back and you want to sell me a $20,000 speaker, a $10,000 speaker for 20 grand, now I'm like, okay, so now you're really hustling, and I don't see the value. Did I ask how long the work days were? No. Did I ask if there's breaks during the day? No. Did I ask if they get paid time off or vacation time? No, I didn't. Did I ask if there's a fence around the factory and a gate? No, I didn't ask that. Did I ask if people can go in and out freely? No, I didn't ask that, because I don't think I'm going to get the true answers, quite honestly. And at one point, the Perlisten, Eric said, there is no sweatshops in China. They don't have sweatshops. It's not like you think. And I'm like, okay, I don't believe you. I just said to him straight, I don't believe you, and so, it's just interesting for us to look at this holistically and to ask ourselves, okay, we have choices on what to buy. And are we being smoke jobbed, or smoke and mirrors, where we're getting sold stuff that's overpriced, that should be half of what it's being sold for, but because of creative marketing and where it's being made, we're overpaying for this stuff. And that's what brings me to the purpose of this video. So the first thing was to just say, I'm not selling the MoFi stuff. Now, what brings into, we've got two examples. We've got MoFi and we've got Perlisten. And they both create speakers in China. Okay, one of them is offering what is seemingly a value, which is questionable. We'll question that. And the other one, I don't think they're even going for a value. They're just saying we're as good as any other, and we're made in China, and we feed our people twice a week and whatever. Okay, now we've got the example of Denafrips or Kinky Studios, okay? So in the first examples, MoFi and Perlisten, we've got American companies that are simply manufacturing over there, and then they're bringing it back to the U.S., and the U.S. companies are making money, the U.S. dealers are making money, U.S. distributors are making money. So it's helping the American economy in some form or fashion. When you look at Denafrips or Kinky Studios, now what you've got guys in China who are saying, we think, and they don't even think, they're doing it. They're cutting out everybody in the middle and they're selling instead of them. So let's look at the Perlisten example. Okay, so these guys are able to create and trying to make these speakers presumably for $2,500. Let's say $3,500. It's definitely not more than $3,500. Okay. They're willing to sell it for $3,500 in China, mainland. That's the price that they get. $3,500. That's what the cost is. Okay. By the time it gets to US, it's 20 grand. Okay. But there's a lot of the people that are making the money are American companies in there. Now, what happens if this company in China decides, you know what? We're going to do a subsidiary. We're going to knock off that speaker and we're going to sell direct to the Americans and we're going to sell at the same price because the Americans are so stupid. They're going to think because they're buying direct that they're getting a great price. And all we have to do is talk about the capacitors inside and we can really hype this up as a hi-fi product, which they're getting very good at. In the case of Denafrips, and I have to admit, when I first saw Denafrips, I wanted to hear it right away. I looked at all those caps and everything like that, and it got my audiophile emotions going, you know, because I could see all the caps. Ooh, that's got to be crazy sound. I wonder what it sounds like. So in the case of Denafrips, they're selling a DAC for $6,500. That is something that would be, you know, $1,000 in China. Chinese price may be less if they were selling it. But now they're selling it direct to us for $6,500. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm getting such a great deal. And I don't understand. It's because people aren't questioning it. They're just taking the spoon-fed information and they're not saying, let's stop and think about if you eviscerate all the middlemen, then that means they are like 10 times profiting what they normally would. I'm totally overpaying for something, but I'm completely under the ether because I'm not realizing there's no middlemen in there. I'm buying direct and there's one middleman in Singapore, you know, so he's making a cut, but trust me, they're not going to give him some big cut, you know. I'm sure they're taking the lion's share. So all of this stuff brings things into question and it makes us question, like, what are the values of the things I'm getting? Let me look at where it's made. Let me look at who it's helping. Let me look at what is the end result of this? How is this product getting to me? And what are all the mechanics of that product getting to me? Instead, we simply look at the marketing pages in the magazine. We don't ask any questions. I was guilty of this. I fell for the hype when I was in the room. And it worked. And I was ready to sell them. I even told you guys I was ready to sell them. But when we stop and come back a second and and between you guys asking me where they were made and between these protests that I'm seeing going on over there, and which is evidence that the people are not happy. And it's like, wow, okay, so where does this how does this help the world? How is this good for the world when we manufacture over there, when we buy stuff that's made over there? That's what I ask myself. And it's easiest for me just to eviscerate that and just say, I'm not going to do that. And now I'm hell-bent on determining I'm not going to take the spoon-fed narrative that it's too expensive to manufacture in the United States. I'm going to make this product and I'm going to have it brought right to the product development stage, completely to a finished product, know how much it is packaged and how much I could sell it to you guys for, and if it would wipe the butt of the Chinese made product, and this for something made in USA. I think it'd be a very interesting study to check out. But I just wanted to go over these things because they're just kind of like, let's open the discussion. Let's have the discussion. Tell me your feelings about it in the comments below, and let's discuss this whole thing, because I think we've really been caught up in some marketing hoopla, and the MoFi thing is a perfect example of how the marketing hoopla is brought up so that we go for something and we're excited about it when it might not be that great of a value. When we compare it to the other overpriced stuff in the market, maybe it looks like a value, but if we were to search better in the market, I could find things that are a better value for $3,800. MagnaPan LRS Plus for $1,000 or less is a prime example, okay? So this is an interesting discussion, and I don't know that there's really a point to my video, more so than there is, let's open this discussion and talk about what where these things are made, and let's question the marketing and if these things are cracked up, all they're cracked up to be. Because it's easy for us to look at a $160,000 amplifier and see that there's BS and hype built into that, okay? That's easy to see. But what I'm questioning is, can that be done on a smaller level where it doesn't pick up on our radar because it's $3,800, which is much more palatable, but that could be, we could just have scaled down. It could be the same amount of profit, but we're just scaling it down. It could be maybe, a $500 speaker that is being sold for $3,800. It's made in China, man. So that's the question really that for discussion here is, the possibility that we take things that are greatly overpriced, like the $150,000 amplifiers or $150,000 DACs, and if we can we scale it down? It's like, look at soda pop. That's something that's made for like 1 cent a can or 2 cents a can or 3 cents a can or whatever. It's caramel colored sugar water, and it's sold for, if you go to the store, or if you get it, God forbid you get it out of a vending machine. Think about the exponential profit in that stuff. That's way higher than probably the hi-fi stuff. But we don't pick up on the radar because it's only $1.50 that we're spending. But we're spending $1.50 on something that they made for 3 cents. Exponential profit, and is it worth it? And what do you get in the end from it? Soda pop is a brilliant marketing scam, in my opinion. People love it. They drink it all day long. It couldn't be a more uneducated thing to drink is soda pop. That is the most uneducated thing you could possibly drink. And I'm sorry for you soda pop drinkers that drink it every day, but that is an uneducated expense. You're killing yourself with that stuff, and it's junk, and it's straight profit for corporations that exploit humans. I saw a great documentary about Pepsi and the Harrier jet, and that's what made me think of that. So anyways, just wanted to bring this to you, open for discussion. Let's discuss it. Over and out. See you guys.